Dear Diary, this is, I guess, part 7 of CXB robbed by Harry Stuckey, the NYPD, and the DA's office. Charles Hynes and his assistant district attorneys Lauren Artis, Jessica Wilson, and Ann Gutman, all three who protected a guy who rapes women, who flies to Thailand to have sex with 12-year-olds, has a large child porn collection. They've repeatedly said none of those things are interesting. Thousands of witnesses, hundreds of pieces of physical evidence. They say, not interesting. We are going to spend all of our money, and we're going to spend 3 years trying to get the guy who blew the whistle. Remember, it's right there in their complaints. They're charging me. They arrested me and are charging me with 3 different arrests, all 3 for blowing the whistle on a criminal, a very serious criminal. That's their argument, and it's mine. Their argument is, well, yes, I mean, you only did speech. We're not accusing you of throwing an object or throwing a punch. We're charging you with speech. What kind of speech? Okay, well, there's a poster in the complaint. It mentions the poster you made with a cartoon of him, a wanted poster that lists a lot of his crimes and warns people. Okay, that kind of looks a little bit like whistleblowing. Okay. The third arrest is while you were at a show, a packed show for Nonsense 10-year anniversary party. You were on stage, your band, with your boyfriend's band Sucks, and you saw Harry Stuckey was at the show, so you warned all the audience, who were all future potential customers of Harry Stuckey's in a number of categories. I warned them all to avoid a crook named Harry Stuckey. I went to jail for that. Jessica Wilson argues that I jumped up and took the mic and was harassing him. Now, all she has to do is Google my name and she go, holy shit, this guy looks like he's been whistleblowing for 20 years. Hundreds of newspaper articles about his whistleblowing, actually technically thousands if you include the 9/11 Commission hearing. I blew the whistle at the 9/11 Commission hearing. There's videotape of it. It's been seen by 900 million people. The Brooklyn DA's office can't say, we didn't know. But okay, you told us about these things, and any search of your name shows that you're probably the #1 whistleblower on planet Earth. That's all I do every day of my whole life has been a whistleblower. You can talk to my elementary school teachers. I was a whistleblower. When I see bullshit, when I see lies, when I see people treating other people badly, I blow the whistle. You could listen to all my songs on YouTube. Most of them seem to be concerned with protecting the weak against the strong and exposing lies and bullshit. Even my pop songs expose bullshit and lies. But her argument is, we didn't know that. Well, then you're really shitty prosecutors, aren't you? If you waste millions of tax dollars. Remember, they waste millions of tax dollars putting innocent people in jail. They waste millions of tax dollars on all the legal fees and court costs, et cetera, to huge staffs. They waste millions then because once they get caught, which they often do, in over 200,000 cases, the Brooklyn DA's office has been caught framing innocent men. We have to then pay out tens of millions of dollars to settle the lawsuits. You know, when you frame somebody for 20 years in prison and they finally get cleared because of DNA, they're going to get paid. Because of criminals named prosecutors. And there were no mistakes made here. The prosecution can't even claim, well, all right, we got tricked. No, you didn't get tricked. Days after you arrested me the first time, in February 2009, I immediately got back to you morons, and I mailed you copies of the bank statements, the checks, the canceled checks, the bounced checks, all kinds of physical proof. Now they can say, we thought you faked it all. You had proof that he had committed all kinds of fraud and all kinds of other crimes. This Stuckey character. But we thought you made it all up. Okay, well, you could have made one phone call to my bank. You could have. You really think I could have faked Tom's bank, totally different bank than mine, and mine, I could have banked all the accounts, everything, all their computers. I hacked all of this stuff? The bounced check. The small claims case I won against him. Because remember, even in their paperwork, they're like, Mr. Pro was threatening this guy. He's lawless. It's like, you knew I was filing a lawsuit in February 2009, you fucking liars. Because I told you about it, and you could verify it with the courthouse. You fucking liars. And you knew about the small claims case, which I won. You fucking liars. There's no mistakes made here. The job and purpose of a prosecutor is to lie no matter what. Remember, as a victim of crime, I've never met an honest prosecutor. And I'm going to do some diaries about some of the shocking shit these fucking supercriminals did to me. And as an alleged criminal, I've never met an honest prosecutor. How do you explain that away? And remember, the prosecutors have motive to be completely crooked because they have absolute immunity from prosecution. If they violate federal law 5 million times on video, they reportedly cannot be punished in any way. Convenient. You see, they can be punished if they rape somebody or shoot somebody or things like that. But any federal crimes in the course of their job duties, which is the same thing the Nazis said. We're going to give our staff immunity. They murder people. If they break laws, it doesn't matter. We're going to make them above the law. Now, we knew long before there was such a thing as prosecutors, long before there was such a thing as law, that would make all prosecutors extremely dirty criminals. They can't say absolute power doesn't corrupt. Nobody believes that. They're fucking stupid liars. And again, you can't have bad politicians without lying prosecutors. You can't have bad big business. You can't have Bernie Madoffs. You can't have any problem, almost, in society, unless prosecutors are dirty. There could be no crime in America unless prosecutors are dirty. There could be no budget deficit unless prosecutors are dirty. Because every time politicians broke the law, those prosecutors would bring them down. But that's not how it works. It's all politics. It's all you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You break some laws, I break some laws. Who's going to know the difference? And we all get rich, yeah. Prosecutors are scum. Remember, they're worse than an Adolf Hitler. They're worse than a Joseph Stalin. They're worse than a Reagan or a Bush. Because all of those people only existed because of the crimes and lies of prosecutors. Prosecutors are the ultimate cops. They're supposed to police the police. They don't do a very good job. Even the police admit that. On any level, we see that the police department, the prosecutors' offices, are corrupt. I don't know if there's anything honest about these criminals. And remember, I've dealt with dozens, perhaps hundreds. I didn't keep track. They've arrested me so many times, and I've dealt with so many district attorneys and assistant district attorneys, and even one case will go through a variety of district attorneys. When I say district attorney, sometimes I mean assistant district attorney, but it's too many words. You got that? Each of the 5 boroughs here in New York City, each of the 5 boroughs has its own DA's office. I've only dealt with Manhattan and Brooklyn. Most of my life, it's been Manhattan. Morgenthau was the dirtiest fucking criminal in American history. Even he admitted it. He's like, well, okay, my office framed 20,000 innocent men. He's admitted that. It's like, okay, what was the punishment? Yeah, no, I know you stole our tax dollars to pay these guys off for all their pain and suffering. But the question wasn't, where was the justice? The question was, who in your office got punished? They broke federal law. They committed some of the most... Remember, mugging somebody is far, far nicer than sending an innocent man to jail and destroying his family and making his kids grow up without a dad. That's really serious shit. Remember, it's worse than murder. Murder, you end somebody's pain and suffering. Framing an innocent man. And also, I'm still not really selling it here. Framing an innocent man is worse than you could ever imagine. Put yourselves in their shoes. You're walking down the street one day, and a bunch of goons grab you. They take you away. You have no rights. They say you did something horrible, and then they fucking throw you in the slammer. And for 20 years, 30 years. And often for really heinous crimes that you didn't do. So everyone thinks you're a rapist. Everyone thinks you're a child molester, but you aren't. All because prosecutors just lie top to bottom every single fucking day. And when they're not lying, they're fucking morons. Negligent morons, which is also criminal. But you overlooked a lot more facts. Example, when they frame an innocent man, they've protected the real rapist and real child molester and real criminal who is still on the street. Never forget that part. So actually, when they frame an innocent man, that is not only worse than murder or rape or any of these things, it's at least twice as bad because they've committed two superhuman sins, both that are far worse than any other crime that exists. Protecting, when the prosecution, law enforcement, protects rapists and child molesters, that is the greatest crime you can invent. Priests raping kids? Not close. Starting a war, killing 200 million people? Not close. Very different. Than law enforcement trying to frame innocent men, deliberately keeping real criminals on the street. And they can't even say, well, you know, we're juggling a lot of places. We're really busy. Yeah, we make some mistakes. We're really busy. No. In New York City today, we have record arrests. But they said there's record low crime. Giuliani and Bloomberg, two Republican pieces of shit, lowered crime 80%. That's what they told us. So you guys now have never had more free time unless you all lied to us. So which is it? Record crimes today, record arrests, but they say there's almost no crime. But there are record arrests. Well, what are you arresting these people for? Not crimes? Explain that one. Not one reporter in New York City. I've informed lots of reporters from the New York Times on down, and they all say the same thing. Oh, if there's record numbers of court cases, does that mean there's record crime? If there's record arrests, doesn't that mean there's record crime? They all say the same thing. My job is to protect the mayor. So fuck off. My job is to protect the mayor. Fuck off. And let me remind you again, you have the right to self-defense. You couldn't go wrong. You could just randomly, if you're a bored redneck with a shotgun who likes to hunt, you could just randomly kill prosecutors, and you couldn't go wrong. And you could randomly kill journalists. It's not like, well, there's good journalists and there's bad journalists. Even the best journalists I've ever seen were still dirtbags. And they say, oh, I did a lot of good stories. Yeah, a clock is right twice a day. I mean, a broken clock. It's right twice a day, even if it doesn't work at all. So fuck you. Now getting back to the case here, man, you wouldn't believe all the different dirty stuff. I can list 5,000 separate crimes by the district attorney's office in my 3 arrests by Harry Stuckey. Where were we? But just keep that in mind. They are charging me. First arrest is for speech harassment, they say. They've already admitted in their own paper. Oh, this is great. Now, this is one of the most mind-blowing things I've seen in ages. Now, in all of my cases, in all of my trials, every inch of it is mind-blowing. These aren't like boring legalese cases. The cases are stunning. They would all make great movies because the corruption, the incompetency, the evil, the distortion is impressive. It's a work. All my cases are works of art by these criminals. Example. When I was arrested, the first time Harry went to the police, he said, this guy threatened me. We had a business deal, and it went bad. And so he's mad because I came out on top. And he threatened my life and did all this other stuff. And they're like, okay. He's like, I got tape recordings. They're like, okay, cool. And it's like, but apparently that wasn't enough. It's like, and so in the complaint, when I finally was arrested, I got to see the complaint against me, and it's filled with all kinds of fictions. And I said to them a few days later, I said, whew, thank God we can clear this one up. It says here, I threatened him in 30 to 40 emails and letters. We can resolve this by the end of the week. All you have to do is say, all right, Mr. Stuckey, we'd like to see those. Give him 2 weeks. Give him 3 weeks. If they're emails, all he has to do is push forward. If they're letters, all he has to do is drop them off. You guys will photocopy them. Your investigators will photocopy them. It's really easy. Remember, he's got a car and everything. It could not be possibly easier. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a day job or anything. Couldn't be easier. So why didn't that first or second week, why didn't they just resolve it? Instead of wasting their money and tons of taxpayers' dollars and framing an innocent man, why didn't they? That first arrest, why wouldn't you do that if you were a detective or you were a prosecutor? Your job was to enforce the law, and you have a witness who says he's got 30 to 40 emails where I threaten him. And then I say, listen, I'm writing to you right now. I'm telling you anything you want to know. I don't have a lawyer present with me, okay? So you know I must not be a criminal. Because if I was a real criminal, I wouldn't want this to go to trial immediately. If I was a real criminal, I wouldn't be sharing all this information with you. Because you'd look it up and I'd be wrong. You'd say, Mr. Stuckey, we're going to give you 2 weeks to give us those 30 to 40 threatening emails and letters. And then he'll provide them. And then, oh, I'll look like an even bigger dirtbag. You could probably rearrest me for obstruction of justice, etc., etc. So you got nothing to lose here. All you have to do is ask Harry Stuckey for what you have to do anyhow. Because remember, by law, they have to ask him for those anyhow. The problem is everything government does is wrong, just like everything private business does is wrong. So what they would do is eventually they would say, Harry, we need those 30 or 40 emails. But they would wait 2 years for them till they're about to go to trial. You see? They wouldn't do their homework first. Their job is like cops. You shoot first, and maybe you'll ask questions later. So they could have ended the entire fiasco in 2 weeks by simply doing what they had to do anyhow at a later date. So what would be the harm? Mr. Stuckey, can we see those 30 to 40 emails? He would then go, I can't, my hard drive went down. No, some of them are letters. They're not emails. There was a leak in the roof. Everything's destroyed. Remember, that's actually the way Harry Stuckey talks. He's infamous for his stammering. And I wonder why sometimes he stammers, because he's trying to think, oh, shit, I can't come up with something. What the fuck am I going to say now? Holy fuck. I told him that was just one. Remember, when they arrested me, I provided them with dozens and dozens of pieces of proof in the first 7 days, proving everything Stuckey had said was a lie. In the first 7, even with the tape recording, I said, please listen to the tape recording now, this week. Tell me, do I threaten him? Or does it appear to a layman and a moron I threatened him? I said, plus you got no case, especially now. It's 2.5 years later. They can't even make the argument, because remember, in America, you can't just threaten somebody. Every day in America, people say, I'm going to fucking kill you. Doesn't mean anything. It's not considered a credible or realistic threat. In federal court, they've established what's called true threats. It has to be a true threat. It has to be something like, I'm coming over there right now, Sally. I'm going to fucking murder you. I'm coming over there right now, Sally. I'm going to fucking murder you. Sounds realistic. It's not like, I'm going to get you. It's vague. Is that a threat? Because remember, free speech has massive protections in this society. Not all countries, but in our Constitution, there's massive protection for free speech. You can go up to a cop tomorrow and say, you're a fucking piece of shit, coward, rapist, scumbag, weasel. The cop can't do anything. Of course, he will smash you in the face, but he can't legally do anything. The free speech is very, very clear here in America, and it's very settled. Threats are very, very settled under the law. Now, trespassers will be shot. Trespassers will be shot. Is that a threat? A moron might say yes, but under the law, it's not. Plus, you'd have to trespass. I said, Harry, if you rip me off, I'm going to fucking kill you. Now, they have a really big problem because it's 2 years later, and he did rip me off, and he stole everything. What he did was worse than steal everything. Remember, he ruined every inch of my life. He didn't just steal my home of 7 years and my life savings and ruin all of my musical projects and destroyed a lot of my archives. You know, work I did for 20 years is gone forever. You understand? I lost 20 years of my life. They can't be replaced. All this hard work, I busted my ass every day of my life just for these criminals to destroy all the hard work I do. I mean, there's probably, I would argue, you couldn't create a lawsuit in America more powerful than my lawsuits. Now, lucky for them, the legal system is garbage and it's a joke. I mean, I'll probably get a bunch of different payouts, lawsuit settlements, but that's all I'm going to get. No one's going to go to prison. None of the dozens and dozens of criminals who violated the Constitution are going to go to jail. Only innocent people go to jail, and people who smoke pot. This is America. This isn't Sweden. And, oh fuck, pushing pause to save. So, this is part 7. Yikes, well, sprawling. It's a little too sprawling. Pardon me when I get confused and think, just where should I go from here? Or what should I finish? I digress so much that it's hard to keep track of all the suffering and pain. But, again, you couldn't make a lawsuit more powerful than mine. There are people been murdered, innocent people murdered by the police. You've had, in New York City, there have been hostages who have been shot to death by the NYPD. Oops. Their lawsuit wouldn't be 1% as big as mine, or even as serious. Because remember, if they just destroyed my entire future, that would be worse than almost any. I mean, all right, somewhere where they cripple somebody. Now, murder doesn't count because there's no more pain and suffering. Those people don't have to pay taxes or anything. Now, when the police, for instance, shoot an innocent guy, and he's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, that's serious shit, right? When you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, you're probably never going to be loved by a guy or a girl. You'll never have kids. It can affect everything, every inch of your life. It's impossible for you to work again, maybe. It's going to ruin everything. It's going to ruin your self-esteem. You're going to want to die. You're going to get fat. You're going to eat your pain away. Become an alcoholic. Who knows what? But we do know this. You put somebody in a wheelchair for the rest of their life. That is superhumanly evil. What happened to me is about 5,000 times worse. I can't go into all the details because that'll take a 5-hour diary entry. But you do have to remember, I'm not simply, according to some people, I'm the smartest person who ever lived. And sadly, I probably am, which isn't saying much. I'm definitely one of the most talented visual artists in history. You haven't seen my real art, so shut the fuck up. I'm one of the most wonderful musicians, one of the great, watch some of my guitar videos. I do shit that no other guitarist did, blah, blah, blah. But here's an example. Especially with my art factory, I was planning on helping thousands of other artists. In fact, I wish I wasn't a talented artist and musician because I would love to just be a manager helping out. For 20 years, I've booked all kinds of really talented artists and tried to bring all these great artists together and promoted them to people in the industry, all kinds of stuff. I love helping talented people reach larger audiences and become successful. I love to help people. Because we live in a world where nobody fucking helps anybody else. And everyone's a fucking selfish asshole. And so since I was a little boy who dealt with so many fucking assholes and nobody gave a shit about me, I give a shit about others. And I can list thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people I want to help. And the tens of thousands of works of art. Remember, I have 9,000 musical projects of my own to create. Now, you can't find a person in history who had 4,500. So right there, if you were to put me in a wheelchair, there's no comparing that to putting any other person on earth in a wheelchair. Because most people going into a wheelchair didn't have to fix everything in the world. If you look at my platforms when I ran for mayor, everyone said the same thing. Conservatives and liberals alike all said the same thing. Your platform is the greatest and smartest political platform I've ever seen. And they were right. And in the election, I set international records. I proved to be the most popular person to ever run for office in human history. These are just a couple random examples I'm giving you. I could fix any problem on earth today that you can name. Homelessness, domestic violence, heartbreak. Pick any category. Environmental, war, economics, architecture. Pick any category. Pick any. And I'll give you a 3-hour lecture on that particular subject. About how we fix everything in weeks, how we do it without spending a penny, etc., etc. And I have a lot of credibility, if you don't believe me. I mean, hell, you can just look at when I humiliated Giuliani in the 9/11 Commission. I humiliated him in front of 900 million people watching, and then probably another billion in the newspapers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. To this day, people are watching it all the time in some of the documentaries, like Small Change or whatever they're called, about 9/11 being an inside job. My work is still, that one thing, it took me 5 minutes. It cost not 1 penny to reach over 2 billion people. Is that efficient? Oh, no, everything takes money. Does it? If they tell you everything takes money, you're wrong. For instance, in New York City, we could end homelessness in 1 week in New York City. And it wouldn't cost us, literally, wouldn't cost us 1 penny. Because, for instance, Giuliani and Bloomberg are warehousing 20,000 empty apartments. They say there's 40,000 homeless people. Okay, that's 2 people per apartment. Some of them are 1 bedrooms, some of them are 2 bedrooms. There's probably a few 3 bedrooms, and a few of them are studios. 20,000. Game over. Actually, and that's, again, see, now, this is where I get bogged down. There's too many details, and they're all amazing. Example, what I just said to you was wrong. And I bet you won't see why it was wrong. Because when I said we can end homelessness in a week without spending a penny, that was wrong. We would actually literally get paid hundreds of millions and then billions to end homelessness. You understand? It wouldn't cost us a penny. We would earn money. How so? Because everybody in public housing, the 20,000 units, for instance, that are being warehoused, if we have people move in there, They pay 30% of their income. So if they work part-time at fucking Subway making sandwiches, that's not enough to afford your own place in New York City anymore and pay your bills. But if you're living somewhere where you can pay 30% of your income, and that's what they do in the public housing projects. So we're losing, and this has been reported even in the mainstream press, we're losing hundreds of millions of dollars in lost rent from all those public housing units that Giuliani and Bloomberg took off the rolls because they're Republican slime who think, let those fucking Negroes fucking get a real place like me, said the mayor when he was living in a rent-free mansion paid for by taxpayers. You see, that's how Republicans work. The fucking handouts for those Negroes. Let them get a real job. So everything is more complicated than you think, and I have all the solutions. If you think I'm boasting, try me. Because when I ran for mayor, that's why they blocked me from all debates. In 2001, they allowed me in all the debates, and I humiliated. In the opening statements, I won every debate. How couldn't I? Remember, I'm smarter than everybody else. I was more charming than every other candidate, funnier than every other candidate, and I could answer any question anyone could hit me with. No other candidate could. You couldn't ask them about all kinds of different things, and they'd have solutions ready to go. I said, you name any problem. Drugs, rape, high phone bills. Pick any issue, and I can answer any questions you have. And they saw that. They saw people would grill me and stuff. All kinds of people who doubted me, grilled me, and they're like, holy fuck, this. Remember, I did a lot of TV on Staten Island. There were a bunch of fucking rednecks in Staten Island, and I looked like a fucking hippie. And they would call up in these call-in shows and be like, when I first saw you, I thought you were a dumbass. You look like some fucking freak. But you make a lot of sense. It's like, no shit. And we're going to have to make this the end of part 7, and we're going to have to do part 8, because I got to get back to the Harry Stuckey and the DA Charles Hynes and Jessica Wilson and Gutman, Lauren Artis, and others using your tax dollars to violate the U.S. Constitution every day. Their job is to protect serious criminals. Again, remember, you want to protect serious criminals, because if you get rid of crime like Sweden, well, look at how many prosecutors and cops Sweden has per ratio versus America. And you're going to see it's a job protection program. Anyone can stop crime tomorrow. It's really easy. Again, it would only earn us trillions of dollars to end crime tomorrow. But then they'd all be out of a job, and they'd have to get a real job. And they don't want to do that. What lawyer wants to do a real job? Come on. Didn't you read Shakespeare? He said Anne Gutman and Jessica Wilson and Charles Hynes should be murdered. That's what William Shakespeare said. Is that a threat? Nope. Should be killed isn't a threat. End of part 7.